What's up, friends? My name is Pi and welcome to SLR Lounge. Look, I don't want to waste your guys' time. I just want to give you all a sneak peek into the SLR Lounge Premium Educational Library. This video specifically comes from Creative Photography 101. It's our latest course designed to teach you how to shoot pro images with just a phone. If y'all enjoy the video, check out the links below and let's go ahead and dive straight in. Okay, here is the recipe. Find the worst room in your home, in your office. For us, this is the employee kitchen upstairs, the one that's neglected. Really, all you need for this lesson is a white wall, and preferably be a subject that has a pinstripe suit. I mean, it looks great. So what we're gonna do right now, did you just hiss at me? It sounded like you hissed at me. Yen hisses at me a lot. It's like her thing. Like whenever I do something that
It seems like an appropriate reaction.
Anyway, so you're gonna want a white wall for this. You're gonna want a room that you can black out, okay? So we want to control all that light. And you can see what it looks like right now. I'm gonna go ahead and get a before shot. Shiv, that looks absolutely incredible. I was lying, it doesn't look that great. It looks like you're standing against a white wall. Why we want a white wall is because we're actually gonna put a light pattern onto that wall. And you can use anybody else's phone for this. What we're looking for here is a small light source. So the flash on the phone is perfect, okay? So on any phone, you can turn on this little flashlight, right? What you wanna do is on that phone, make sure you turn it up to its highest intensity. So if you're on an iPhone, you swipe down, press the flashlight button, and then you can move it up or down to increase or decrease its brightness. So just make sure it's at full brightness so that way you get as much light as possible. Next, grab any object. Now this could be anything. A few of my favorite accessories are things like prisms, which I'm constantly using. You can use leaves, you can use whatever you want, but you just want an object that you can shine the light through. Now instead of bringing the prism to it from this side, what I'm gonna do is actually point the end of it into that light. And you can see what happens. As soon as we do this, we get this really cool triangle pattern on the wall. We can rotate, we can do whatever we want, but we create these very unique light patterns. And to me, unique and imperfect light patterns make up some of the best images and the most interest. This is the other object that I have, and this is what we're gonna use for this tutorial. This is a crystal globe, which I got from Michael's.
Your favorite store.
Your local craft store.
Which you constantly frequent.
I constantly, hey, if you're single, great place to go. 90% females. Creativity 101 is not just about photos, it's also about your love life. Okay, so what we're gonna do is shine the light through this, and you can see we get this really beautiful pattern right on the wall. This is where I wanna pause for one moment to point something out. So look, this intro course on creativity is all about learning to see like your camera, right? So far we have focused on lighting-based principles. Whether it was utilizing natural light and modifying it, over to finding hard light sources and finding shapes and different objects. The difference now is we're actually creating it on our own, but it's the same principles. We're still creating or finding a unique light pattern, only the difference is in a dark room, we have the ability to create it ourselves. So this ties into the exact same lighting principles we've been discussing. Let's go ahead and go back to the video. And I can move this pattern, I can do whatever I like and get it right in the right spot. What I'm gonna do with this pattern is I'm gonna frame it in a way where we can use this circle as a framing element for Shiv's face. So we're gonna place her right in the middle of that. So this is what we're gonna do. Now let's go ahead and set up the camera before we turn out the lights and do it for real, okay? So for this, I would recommend for this kind of a shot to put your camera up onto a tripod. The standard iPhone app, it does use computational photography, and that means when the shutter slows down for that nighttime mode, it's actually using the computer and AI to sync up the lines to make sure your image turns out sharp. So I love it for this type of a shot because it's gonna kind of do a lot of the work for us and we can get something really great. But still, if it's on a tripod, you'll get even better results. So I'm gonna have this on a tripod and I'm actually going to raise this a little bit and then we're going to move it to its side. So this is what the camera is currently seeing. I'm gonna see if we can widen it out a little bit. I don't wanna go that wide where we can see the floor, the ground, everything. So hold down and see if we can't zoom in Yeah, it's kind of like at about, we really probably should stick with this lens right here. And the other reason too is you'll notice that when I go to the wide angle lens, it actually disables that long shutter mode. So I don't even think we have that as an option. We need to stick with this one, that single zoom lens. What do they call it? The one lens. Just go to the 1X lens. That's the one that makes it available to us. So let's move this back a little bit. I'm gonna crop this kind of right at Shiv's calves. So not over the joint. And Shiv, for your pose, I want to get some kind of curves into the body a little bit where, yeah, I love that. Okay, scoot this way a little bit. Right there. That's great. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do, let me get this perfectly straight. There we go. Next thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and lock my exposure and my focus, okay? I'm gonna also bring the exposure up a little bit. Hopefully what that's gonna do is drag the shutter. In fact, let's close the door a little so we can reduce the light. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're just about there now. So I'm gonna grab that second iPhone. I guess you're gonna need a second iPhone for this, but you know what? Your subject should have that. Unless you're shooting your children. They shouldn't have an iPhone yet. In that case, grab your spouse. Their iPhone. That sounded not appropriate. Well, if it's your spouse, it's always appropriate, right? You know what? That's not the point of this. Okay, so what you're gonna do is bring that light over and you can just kind of move it around, shift around to get exactly where you want it. Once you have it there, I'm gonna try and hold the light with this hand. Let's see if we can't get it without dropping your phone. Look, I'm a pro.
Don't drop it, you can be one.
I'm a pro. I'm a pro.
Are you an 11 pro?
Okay. This is the spot where it'd be helpful to have an extra set of hands because what I want to do is actually hold it directly over Shiv right here. And then I need to somehow push that button.
Is there not a timer on the phone?
Not when you're using the long shutter mode. iPhone. I could push it with my nose. So this is my uber cheap remote that came with my iPhone stand. The $20 iPhone stand from Amazon. Wasn't really working well yesterday, but I have a good feeling about this. It'll work this time. We'll get it. If not, we're gonna have to end up getting someone else to trigger it. Let's just see here. Hey, it's working. Yes, I love that. Hand in the pocket, chin up a little bit more, and then looking down at that camera, the iPhone camera. Chin up a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Move around a little bit. You can bring the hands to the hips, do a different pose. There you go. Oh, keep it for the duration of the shot. Sorry, I didn't tell you. Here's the shot, keep that pose. Okay, now you can move. They're 2-second shutters. Shot. Perfect. All I'm gonna do now is just rotate the camera a little bit. So I wanna do some horizontal shots as well as some vertical shots. And this is the one where I'm gonna lower the camera a little bit. The reason why is I'd like to lower it to kind of create a little bit more of a presence, like kind of a strength over the frame. So if I'm shooting bottom up on Shiv, it's gonna give her a little bit more of this kind of standing over the frame sort of a vibe. And we're going for a very strong pose, so it'll fit nicely. Shiv, can you cross over on the feet? And fix the wardrobe real quick. Okay, there we go. You know, I need to tilt this back a little bit more. Tilt the camera back a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna try and aim. The reason why is I'm tilting the camera back because I want to crop right where her legs are tapering in and then give myself more room for this pattern above her. Because I think the pattern's really interesting looking. I'm also gonna keep the globe a little bit away from the iPhone light to kind of shrink the pattern down a little bit. It almost has this sort of peacock feather look. Okay, right, oh, I'm covering it, there we go. Right there. Here we go, 3, 2, and hold. 3, 2, and hold. 3, 2, and hold. So let's switch it up a little bit. 3, 2, and hold. Okay. It's painful.
Would you say that you need help?
No, I would not say that I need help, excuse me.
Of course you wouldn't say it, but you do need it.
This is absolutely fine. There we go. 3, 2, and I love that pose, hold that. 3, 2, and change it up a little bit. That's cool. I like both hands in the pockets and then kind of that kick to the hip. That looks great. 3, 2, and perfect. Think we got it. So let's go ahead and take this into post. All right, let's go into post. We have some pretty cool shots to work through. I'm gonna kind of swipe through these and see which one is my favorite. I like this one. I think that one's pretty cool. I'm gonna take that into Lightroom by pressing a little arrow and we'll go Lightroom. If I wanna upload multiple to Lightroom, I'm just gonna say got it. And I'm gonna come back here and we'll pick another one. So let's say we do, I like this one too. Let's go that one, we'll go Lightroom. Now this go round, since I'm ready to launch Lightroom, I'm gonna go ahead and say launch Lightroom now. Now both of our images will be imported. Okay, so we have both the images in. Now let's go ahead and see what we have here. Let's edit this one, and I have this one actually already edited. I'm gonna show you basically how to get that kind of blue tone in the background, and we'll go ahead and edit this one, then we'll show you the two finals. So what I'm gonna do first is we're gonna start with a preset. Let's go ahead and start with a preset, and I'm gonna go to Visual Flow. Again, I'm gonna show you what is going on with each of these. So let's select Modern. I'm gonna choose, well, probably hard light for this because we're using a very small and kind of hard edge light source. So choosing hard light is gonna lift shadows and kind of do a little bit of the work for us, a lot of the work for us. So let's go ahead and press the check mark and I'm gonna run you through what's happening. So what hard light is essentially doing is we're bringing contrast up a little bit, but we're pulling the highlights down and we're pulling the whites down. This is compensating for kind of those extreme highlights, right? We're also lifting shadows and blacks by a bit. Blacks by a little bit, shadows by quite a bit. Okay, we're adding a little bit of color into the mix. So let's look under the actual color mix. And you can see under the reds, we have that kind of same, that modern vibe for the color where the hue is gonna be shifted down a little bit, desaturate a little bit. Under the oranges, again, a little bit desaturation, a little boost in luminance. Okay, for yellows, we have a little bit of subtraction. Again, for greens, we have +4 for the hue, -6 and 1, and then aqua -15 for saturation. Blues, we've pulled down a little bit. We've also dropped the luminance a little bit, and we have purples and magentas. Again, if you don't have these, then what you're gonna do is go ahead and pause the video, dial them in. You guys can save them out for yourselves. To save out a preset, you click at the top right, the 3 dots, and then you have the option to create a preset right here. All you would do is select which options you want and then choose a name and location for it. Okay, so this looks good where it's at. I'm gonna go down to effects. Let's see what's going on here. So we have a little bit of subtraction in texture, clarity, and that is mostly it on this side. And then a bit of detail in terms of like sharpening and whatnot. Okay, so let's keep working on this because it's not quite where we want it yet. What I'm gonna do first is go to color, and let's go ahead and drop our color selection tool for white balance right over this area and try and get a color read off of the actual, let me bring this a little closer to me. We're trying to get a color read off this neutral point on the wall, okay? Now it still reads as quite warm, so what I'm gonna do is just start cooling it down. And it looks like it's adding a little bit of whatchamacallit, magenta, just to kind of compensate, because typically your phone flashlight is going to have a bit of a green hue to it. So you typically will need to add a little bit of magenta to compensate. So here's what I think would be easiest, okay? What I'm going to do is drop the overall temperature, looking primarily at the color of the background, okay? And then what I'm going to do is go over here to selective. I'm going to choose selective. We're going to start with a little plus. And what I'm going to do is actually drop in a radial filter right from the center. Now, in this spot, oops, let's move it to right over her face. What I'm really wanting here is to pull up the temperature, okay? So essentially what I'm trying to do is kind of create this, almost like this highlight right in the middle where the light is more warm and it falls off around her. And because it follows the natural pattern of the shot, it's going to look kind of convincing. It looks as if the light, the corners are just kind of dropping into shadow. I'm going to see if I can't resize this a bit. Let's see here. Move it up. There we go. Okay. Let's go right about there. And if I want to decrease the feather, I can click right here and drag right here, drag it up or down. So I'm going to decrease the feather a little bit and then see if I can't decrease the size a bit too. Okay, we'll pull it down to just about here. There we go. Okay. Okay, so this is one way that we can do this kind of warming, is we can use a radial filter to do that, right? If I don't like the look of this though, I can delete it. And I'm gonna show you another option where you can be a little more precise with it. But let's do this. Let's add a radial filter that's right over the center, and let's move it directly over the face. Let's invert this, and let's go ahead and pull the feather all the way up to 100%, okay? Because what I wanna do now is I wanna go to light, and I'm gonna pull down the exposure, dropping into our subject right here. And that looks really nice. We're creating this kind of natural vignette that drops right in, and it kind of exaggerates the background as well. So I like the way that this looks, and now what I'm gonna do is create plus, and we're gonna go with a brush this time, and I'm gonna choose the size of my brush. So this right here is the size of our brush, right? I'm gonna choose a fairly small size, and the feather is about right on it. I don't want it too much, I don't want it too light. Right around 50% is good. And what I'm gonna do is now paint over just my subject, okay? Now this part's a little bit tricky because you're essentially using your big fat fingers, well, my big fat fingers, to try to be a little precise about it. Now Lightroom's gonna help you a little bit. And with a feather that's not too soft, this actually isn't too bad. But I'm gonna paint right over the body. Okay, get it, oops. If you mess up, just click the undo button. It'll move it right back. So right here over the shoulder, I'm gonna try and kind of refine that a little bit. I'm pinching and zooming so I can get a little bit of refinement on where it's going, okay? But it looks like it's also giving me a little assist in terms of its automated. So if you wanna move around the image, you have to pinch and then move. If you just try to use one finger, you're gonna actually be painting, okay? So to move, you gotta pinch and then move. Pinch and move. I'm sure that works for a lot of things in life. But right now, it's Lightroom. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and warm this up. And now I'm looking primarily at skin tones and kind of just making sure that we get to about the right place, okay? I need a little bit of warmth, and I also need some tint because her skin looks a little bit too green. So I'm gonna bring the tint up quite a bit, about plus 35, and then start warming until we have a nice natural kind of skin tone, which I get to about here. Okay, if you want to refine this anymore, you can click the plus, click this little brush on the left side. If I want to erase, I can kind of erase off little areas. Just make sure when you select that eraser brush, okay, you've selected it. Look at your size because the eraser brush has a different size than the other one, okay? So at that point, once I have the eraser selected, then I can kind of erase off of any areas that I don't want covered. But I think that should be about right there. Let's see if we can get it, yeah. Our mask looks really nice. Okay, So I'm gonna click check to go back to this screen. And the only other thing that I wanna do from here is I'm noticing that the exposure is just a little bit bright overall. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull down the overall exposure. All right, I'm gonna add maybe a little bit more contrast. And I'm gonna go back to color. And I might just add a tiny bit more tint and a little bit more warmth. Not a lot, just a little. Just a little bit. Okay. Now, this is looking pretty fantastic actually. So if I press the plus, look at this. Compare that with its before shot. That's a massive, massive difference in those two images. Looks fantastic. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, I'd love for you to check out Creative Photography 101. The link's down in the description of the video, and this is our first course that is designed and priced for consumers. It's designed to teach you where to begin in photography, and specifically how to shoot pro images with nothing but the camera that you already have, your phone. In the meantime, please like the video, comment below if there's anything else that you guys would like to learn, and I'll see you all back here same time next week. And turn on notifications, because YouTube thinks that even if you subscribe, you don't want to be notified. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.